5. Woke up exactly at 9 a.m. So I managed to watch all the main card. In the end of the prelims, I mean, that was, I don't remember exactly who was fighting, but that was impressive. But yeah, I can tell you my opinion about the main card and pretty much everything that I thought on this one specifically. The wins, either or other side was accurate, especially regarding Alex Volkanovski. I don't know why, but a lot of people, well, some Georgian fellows were like, "Oh, we love Volk, but Diego's gonna probably win this one." It's like why? Oh, he's preparing well as Volk. Like Volk is and like his preparational ethic and his is one of the best, arguably in the whole UFC. So of course they prepared whatever you know. And Diego Lopez didn't really show much. There were a couple good moments on his side, but it's like 5 rounds clean. Where's your pad thai? I'll bring it after. My husband wants his pad thai. I was I was eating pad thai in the coffee shop and watching the fight. That's how my morning starts to this morning. Anyways, guys, well, what's your opinion? What do you think? My Fiziev versus Rufi was a good fight, like solid, like Rufi, same cold, one of the MMA nerds. But yeah, that was a very good fight. First one, the Salkild's first round submission, where naked choke was on point. Um, Hooker versus Benoit was good as well. Again, a lot of people thought in the beginning that Hooker would outstrike him, but then, well, Benoit always sees good, strong judo background and his general toughness. I heard he's like an expert special forces, so that kind of makes stepping in the cage not the biggest deal, you know. So yeah, he also did quite well. What is up? Yeah, just this is the post UFC 325 event live stream. I usually watch events, or at least always try to get them to the main card because of the time difference. I'm in Vietnam, the trunk, and it happens to be very early in times. And unless there is something like something specific going on in prelims, I'm struggling to wake up. But I woke up for the main card, and here we are. So, what's your opinion? Again, a lot of folks told me Walt's losing this one. He didn't. He showed his class. And let me tell you one interesting thing. People say, "Oh, speed reaction goes first." Well, it's not. There's not no such a thing as speed, reaction, power as the separate things. Those things are entangled within your neural system and entangled with your fast and slow twitched fibers. So any explosive, powerful, speedy, like a sprinty type of movement is generated by fast twitch fibers, and obviously it's a certain neural pathway built with the practice and the repetition, right? So if you train your muscular explosivity strengths, that those factors are actually they fade the last. So it's not about age necessarily. That's why different people age differently depending on their training. I'm pretty much sure that Volkanovski, and you can see at his in his performance, he does everything correctly. He does explosive training. He does all the coordination, balance training. He obviously spars a lot, but spars. I assume he does the smart type of sparrings because you can see all those elements, defense, adapt. It was all built in through the technical sparrings, and I believe that he does a lot of explosive type of training, including weights, strengths oriented. If you focus on strength and explosivity and train it not only through the MMA slash boxing or martial art, you can also do it uh, with a specialized program. then you don't lose it. It doesn't become much dependent on your age. Obviously, it becomes the scale, it still goes down, but it slows down, and the scale of it doesn't go dramatically after a certain age. That's why 37-year-old alcoholic and 37-year-old Alex Volkanovski and from boxing, Alexander Usyk, they're doing quite great. So yeah, a lot of I was quite satisfied. A lot of people were like, "Oh, Volk is losing. He's not good." It just people almost feel like they're projecting themselves. Well, you're not Alexander Volkanovski. You don't have that discipline, that training ethic, that work ethic, and that IQ. Okay, let's look at the chat. Just watch the UFC card and now talking about it. You're the artist, right? Yes, I am. I'm an artist too. Okay, and the fighter. Yeah, boxer. Yes. Did you see Volkanovski get the win? Yeah, I've just been talking about it. You remember Butterbean? Yeah, Butterbean is a legend in his right. Too technical for his, appearance and size, and super power punch, and he could take a punch because of his complex, his body as well. Yes, as I said, I know Butterbean, aka Eric David Scott. Wait, did Wolf win again? Yes, he did. Yes, he did. My Okay, I'll be honest. Volk is also one of my favorite fighters, but in this case, it wasn't that much of just cheering for him and hoping. I kind of like I was surprised why people were like, "Oh, Diego Lopez is winning." Like, okay, tell me why. Oh, he's preparing. He says that. Well, yes, but so does Wolf, and that guy is known for the one of the best training ethics, best IQ, best like brilliant execution. If we be honest, he lost only to Makhachev twice, and first fight, it was probably one of the closest fights to in Makhachev's career. Second fight was on the short notice, and he gets knocked out, but it was completely like on the short notice. Also considering their size difference between Volk and everyone, even between Diego Lopez and Volk. Like Volk's been facing bigger opponents and just dismantling them. And then you have Tapuria. Well, I mean, but Tapuria is also another level. And in that case, you can actually say that if that was prime Volk and prime Tapuria, maybe it would be different. Maybe there it was a little bit of factor, but even up until that knockout, again, Volk and Tapuria were going quite hand in hand, very good, solid fight. And fourth, I don't remember what was his fourth loss. Maybe it's an earlier career. But the point is, he just lost arguably to two of the one of the best in the history of the UFC. And he's naturally a featherweight, so there were some certain factors in his defense as well. That's why, again, I think people were underestimating Wolf way too much. And I love him. I really do. But I do believe that most of people like Wolf either way. By the way, I don't think he did any preparation. You talk about Lopez. Well, a little bit interesting. Lopez was what happened. Wolf, with his experience that was coming firstly in experience, he basically bent him to his distance, to his. But bring it up. Wolf didn't have an advantage in reach, in height, or anything. What he has advantage in is his timing. He's brilliant. His footwork was even better in this fight than before. That's one of the things clearly you can see they worked and put the accent on was his footwork. It was brilliant distance control, and that way, without Diego probably even noticing that much, and that's where hesitation came in. Wolk was in control. Wolk was fully from the beginning till the end, except a couple of moments for Diego. he was fully in the control with that timing and with that footwork combined. And well, in that case, I mean, he could go more in reach. He could go more. Like he basically just fell under his game and couldn't do anything. I'm not saying that he's not good, but that's already second loss, and well, he's definitely not a match for Volkanovski even at that point with that age difference, being stronger and bigger. So yeah, he needs to get some other fights before. I think he fought Mosar. That was his debut. Maybe a rematch with Mosar. Mosar and Evloev and Lerone Murphy might fight each other, and then whoever wins goes for a title shot. That I think is not a bad thing. But with Diego, it almost feels like yeah, he had like a faster track to um, title shot in a featherweight than some of the others. I have a little bit controversial opinion regarding Mosar Evloev. Yes, he's undefeated. Yes, he's a great fighter. A lot of he bailed at least 4 or 5 times. Total fights that were didn't happen was I think 11, but 4 or 5 were his responsibility. Others were due to his opponents, so we cannot blame him for everything. But 4 and 5 is already too much. Even his last fight, he was supposed to have a fight in 2025 in July, if I'm not mistaken. And again, injury. Rather, he has a serious injuries where it kind of doesn't work with the sport, or he just finds an excuse, whether it's a small thing and he just like if he's not in the perfect conditioning, he refuses to fight, or PD. Okay, so neither of reasons are very good. So I have a little bit controversial opinion regarding Mosario. At some point, he will be interesting to see him fighting Volk or whoever is um, at that point in the featherweight champion. But yeah, but I would Lebron Murphy is being more consistent. I think I like Dakota Dicheva. She's cool. She's definitely a future of female MMA. Yeah, Butterbean mentioned in several times that we talked about. He didn't train for a lot of his fights. That's true. He was crazy natural beast. Walk short but strong. Well, not only strong, but brilliant, endurance, smart. He's like great reaction, great timing, great fighting IQ. I know you're Georgian. Ilya is Georgian too. Yeah, they're Tapuria brothers are original. They're Georgians. Yeah. Now nowadays, boxing is no longer what this used to be because YouTubers are knocking professional fighters. That's just a part. There's like one organization where Jake Paul is the which Jake Paul owns or something. Other than that, you still have WBA, WBC. I mean, if you're gonna have a YouTuber and they're a great boxer, fight also at the same time, that doesn't matter if they're whatever they're doing with their lives in the free time. But I understand your frustration, but just watch real boxing. Just don't watch that. That's it. Yeah, he actually made it look so easy considering Lopez's skill set and age difference. Yeah. Who wins? Sean Strickland versus Anthony Hernandez. Oh, I'm not sure. I mean, Strickland is being suspended. I don't even know if he's training. I felt like he's beating some YouTubers, but and talking some stuff. But I haven't seen him like really training. So I don't know. I don't know how Strickland is prepared, and I don't know if Strickland has that anymore. Like that, his peak was when he knocked out Adesanya and became a champion. That was his peak, but then he lost it to DDP, right? So anyone else getting bad quality video, grainy and blurry? Let me see. Okay, is it better now? Try to connect. wife. You watch Checo versus Teofimo. I didn't watch prelims, and which a little bit. It's the second time I'm missing prelims, and prelims are usually one of the best fights and very interesting bouts there. So no, I haven't seen those. I will have to rewatch. Okay, 1 second. Okay, sound check, check, another sound check. Do you hear me properly now? I'm doing well, thank you. A European. I'm mix between Caucasian and Slavic. Caucasian from Caucasus. I'm Georgian. My father is Georgian. My mother is half Russian, half Ukrainian. Now both video and sound is better. Okay, thank you. So I think she used to fight. I did a little bit of amateur, not long. I did a lot of open ring bouts. So this is where I learned to box. I mean, like not just throwing hands on the back, but actually punch, get punched, like delve into it. Now I'm getting back. Now I'm in the preparational phase. I want to do some professional boxing, get a few fights and see how it goes. I'm doing it for my pleasure at this point, and also for the channel to show the journey, to show the nuances. Um, of the work, what is important in my case, what are my stronger sides, weaker sides, advantages and disadvantages, and then showing when the fight is scheduled, showing you that process as well, all that kind of stuff. If you want to check, the closest thing is the sparring sessions, the rotational sparring that we have, and you can check it in my yesterday's live stream. I can just play it a little bit, like I've been doing technical sparring sessions with other folks. No paintings today. Well, that painting has to dry. Well, I am using, yeah. So I'm looking. I'm gonna try to connect to Wi-Fi. Am I? Sorry. What is a Wi-Fi password? Wi-Fi password. Yeah. So yeah, I'm trying to get the Wi-Fi password because the connection seems to be not working very well. Okay, let me just connect quickly. Okay, my sound and can see me. Just let me know, please. It's still a little bit better. I don't know what's going on with connection. Generally, my data is actually the most reliable one, but yeah, seems like Wi-Fi is not working. I'm gonna switch to the same. Okay, what was better, the Wi-Fi connection or the data connection? How is it now? I grew up with the Virgil's dad, crazy. We're from Grand Prairie, Texas. Oh, that's awesome. Howdy. Oh, that's super cool. Yeah, the world is a small place. Like imagine in the UFC, you have like a bunch of fighters in different weight classes, and all of them are from different parts of the world. Great now. Okay, good. Finally. Um, but yeah, I mean, there's some Georgians even from my country, and that is country in Eurasia, like right in between Europe and Asia, and here we are talking all about all of it. Looks all right. Okay, good to know. Well, anyways, what's your take? What about the other ones? I think the Sakeld was submission was great. First round submission was epic, and my favorite, apart from Volk and Lopez, in the main card at least, was Fiziev, Fiziev versus Ruby. Like those two. I mean, Fiziev tried his best, but yeah, the Ruby's counter punching, skill, momentum, timing, and setting it up was great. Reminded me a lot of McGregor, actually. Like even his way, his stance, even his appearance and body type to a certain extent, his reach. He has a crazy reach for his height. I think it was like he's 180 and his reach is 190 centimeters. So yeah, to me, I just all of a sudden just looked like McGregor to me in his prime. Okay, please don't spam, guys. Okay, oh, I gotta time you out. You know Michael Phelps. Does Nicole the name in my head right now? Anyways, any Australians here in the chat? Congratulations to you guys. Was a lot of Aussies, obviously. The UFC's getting more into habit of putting specific types of fighters, according to nationality as well, into this kind of events. So yeah, I think generally, at least judging the main card, I don't know how prelims went. I mean, guys, if you watched prelims, tell me some notable moments, notable bouts. I will rewatch it in the free time. But the main card was all right. It was not nothing crazy, but it definitely was entertaining. It's in its own right, at least to me. Yeah, Steve, I heard you. I will check him out. Timing beats speed, precision beats power. Yes, that's. I mean, all of those things are ingrained. It's just someone can have a less power, but they still have a power, and someone has less speed, but they still have enough speed to create that timing. You know what I mean? So, but yeah, generally I agree. So yeah, it's Sunday morning here. I mean, it's already actually it's afternoon here in Vietnam, Nha Trang. It was a good event. I mean, it was nice to woke up at 9, exactly when the main card started. Watch the main card, watch the main fight. Again, super satisfied. Nothing against Lopez, but like I really didn't like with that thing that people underestimated well for particular no reason. Literally downgrading all of his achievements, all of his who he is, and definitely at this point the best featherweight of the history of UFC. And they would just say, ah, because he's old. Okay, good luck with that judgment. I think quite a lot of people lost their money on this fight. Yeah, I'm talking about Alexander Volkanovski. Yeah, exactly. That was the main event of 325. UFC 325. The only fight was a little bit odd. I mean, the outcome was exactly the I thought, but I mean, the essential outcome, but not the way I thought. Uh, the heavyweight bout, those names, Toy, Tuivasa, and another guy, Brazilian guy. Yeah, like you can see, I'm not watching that much of the heavyweight, but yeah, that like those names kind of just memorize them. But yeah, the Australian guy, I thought I thought he pushed through, but yeah, it was not very was clumsy, and the Brazilian guy also got tired in the end. So it was emotional, dramatic, but also very very clumsy. Um, because there is one thing when you have heavyweights and fast heavyweights, like muscular heavyweights, the speed is also on another level. But the combined with the power, those fights are more entertaining to watch. But then you have some heavyweights there. Yeah, of course, if they land that one punch, they will not like knock out flat. But they also have a lot of mass that they just prevents them from speed. So yeah, that's another um, thing that I don't know people focus on. Some maybe do, but when you have the muscle weight as a component, and if you have more of the fat weight, and this is how you become heavyweight. There's nothing like as a heavyweight, you don't have to have a six pack necessarily. That's not what I'm talking about. But you really need to try to hypertrophy to grow the muscle component because that's going to translate to even better power and potentially better speed, better timing, better accuracy. You know what I mean? Good to see you. Good to see you too. Charles versus Volkanovski. I don't think they're fighting. Charles gonna fight Max Holloway in UFC 326 for BMF. Between these two, like I don't know. I mean, can go either way, I guess. Both of them are experienced fighters. I think sorry, Holloway is gonna have an advantage in the stance, of course, but Charles can try to drag him down. So, and either way, it's not gonna be just one sided. Obviously, both on the ground and in the striking, they will try to give each other some resistance. So I imagine it's gonna be a good fight. Sorry, why I'm saying Volkan Holloway. I don't think Holloway ever had like a boring fight. I don't think he ever played it really safe. He always tries to keep it interesting and dynamic. Hi, nice to meet you as well. Yeah, please don't spam, guys. Okay. Who will beat Elia Taporia? Well, at this point in the top, again, the number one Arman might be the biggest threat at this point in the lightweight at least. But when I say biggest threat, that doesn't mean that he beats Taporia. I think Taporia can knock out Arman flat like everyone else. Um, yeah, the only question is if Arman managed to out wrestle him, but that could be also interesting because we never truly seen, at least in later like the newest fights, Ilya really wrestling, but he actually wrestles and he trains wrestling. Some people say that because he's not striking, he neglects. No, that doesn't work that way. And talking of the Volkanovski and his team's work ethic and the smart analysis of the opponents, well, Tapuria's team are also very great at that. They pick the opponent, break down all of their strengths and weaknesses, and Tapurias are known to train separately. They train wrestling with the wrestlers and doing that specifically. The boxing, the reason they have very good boxing because they train boxing with boxers, and then they put all of it together. So they're not just doing general MMA striking, throwing hands, or MMA wrestling. No, they take all of those sports that are dominant or can be dominant in the MMA, and they just fully engage into it. So I don't see anyone. I think Makhachev, like if that fight happens and Islam says he's not going down, right? So if Ilya is that brave, which he seems he is, I wouldn't be surprised. So he might go in the welterweight. I don't see welterweight Ilya as like a fighting and defending Walter in the welterweight. Maybe at the maximum, just going up to fight Islam. If winning, that will be historical, but not staying. Maybe even retiring after that wouldn't be a problem. But yeah, staying in the welterweight really, it just doesn't make sense. When he fights Morales, like how do you imagine that? Even Islam Morales is gonna be very interesting, but you know what I mean. Other than that, I don't see anyone beating Tapuria. Not Gage. Definitely not Patty. There was a lot of hype around that, but it was a blown up hype. When Connor returned in Octagon, maybe next life, he's done with it. And I don't think White House either. I don't think they're gonna pull him in. If they do, then it's gonna be one more money event for him. But like if you're asking for a real comeback, it's not happening. He's also how old is he? Is he closer to 40 now? Or at least no, it has to be like 30 something, but he's been inactive for quite a long time. Unlike Volkanovski, who's being at top shape and showing and proving that he's different. Yeah, I don't know what's happened to your sister. I'm sorry to hear that. How long do you work out? Really depends on the type of workout. Low impact can be longer, high impact 20 minutes, 30 minutes. I mean more like a burnout, intervals, anything that covers that maximum of the boxing rounds potential. Because I don't need more cardiovascular and muscular endurance than that for for that specific purpose. So high intensity training, it can be sectionated. It can be warm up, then like those 20 minutes, 25 minutes of high intensity, sometimes lower, depends on the day, and then more like a cool down, maybe a little bit of technique, maybe a little bit coordination, maybe a little bit resistance training, and then um, yeah, then end of the training. From Mexico, go walk. Yeah, well, he already won. Morales has a physical advantage over Islam. Only Shaukat and the protest can take him out. Uh, you mean Morales? Yeah, let's see. I mean, Shaukat is very interesting. He had that injury, and when is he even coming back? That's the question. Prades, Prades is super interesting. Actually, one of my favorite ones in the welterweights. Charismatic, funny, strong, definitely strong, good striker, but his wrestling is definitely not there. And it's different. If you if it, he might be able to survive against the BJJ fighters because BJJ is still a little bit different. But offensive wrestling, you gotta have that. Uh, the reason that I bet on Morales is because he has judo and wrestling background since he was like a baby. But you also seen how he punches. Like he might not be the fastest, or maybe he doesn't need to be fastest, but when he throws those two straights, it's like you can see it over like almost like an explosion. That's how heavy his punches is. And like not only the Mahachev, anyone's gonna lay under those if it's applied. The only thing with Morales is obviously experience, emotional control. Being precise. Because when you are that young and that hungry, that again, like today with Diego, he couldn't do anything against Wolf with way more experience, smaller, but he perfectly knows how to control distance. He knows his reach. He's very experienced in that, right? So Mahachev might have also that experience advantage, and that would help him to use grappling and wrestling in the right way against him because you gotta it's harder to keep bigger opponents down, especially with a wrestling background, but I'm not saying it's impossible. And Makhachev is having quite a big also quite a good fighting IQ in my opinion, so maybe those factors could help him, but physicality wise, yeah, Morales is just a like he just rock solid. Okay, so your thoughts on Rofi versus Fiziev? That fight was beautiful, right? Yeah, I actually said that was one. Basically, I liked Volk and Lopez, but it was more of the Volk's execution. Fiziev Fiziev versus Rufi absolutely is my favorite of the main card. And in this case, also, it was Rufi's, Rufi's execution, counter punching, brilliant control. Fiziev was going well too. Like Fiziev, there was some good body shots, low kicks. He was at some point he was getting into a groove, but again, that's what Rufi does. He was completely calm, collected, not rushing a knockout or anything like that. But once it landed, you saw he recouped straight away and just like bounced Fiziev back and forth until finishing him on the mat. So yeah, no, it was, and it reminded me a lot of Connor. Like when people compare Ilya to Connor, yeah, I know the Taporis were like inspired by McGregor, which a lot of fighters are actually, but resemblance, I don't really see that much resemblance between Ilya, for example, and Connor. Even stylistically, you look not really. Even their boxing style is different. Like Connor's boxing is probably one of the best countering boxing in MMA. He wasn't really like he would come on the offense when he saw that was the timing for it, but usually he would like that's how Jose Aldo knockout happened. Like that's one of the things Connor been training. It's just been training that. And my point is that like Rufi definitely looks like it reminded me Conor McGregor with his body type, stance, body proportions, even his style, like his movement. So that's my opinion. No, I'm not MMA fighter, but I do boxing. But I watch MMA. I've seen you're an artist. Ever think about painting that famous Ali picture? Amazing paintings, by the way. Yeah, absolutely. I'm thinking what to do next, and I actually got one reference. I found one good reference of Ali. It's kind of artistic, so but you can see by the silhouette that it's Muhammad Ali. And potentially, like I'm looking forward to make some of the series of mixed martial arts slash boxing paintings, where it's like two people in the moment of the heat, in the moment of fighting, and then like body movements, like it's kind of captivating the beauty and emotion, and that's also related to what I do and what we like here. So yeah, I'm thinking to make a series of that kind of paintings. Messi or Cristiano, both are great. Hi, I'm in a hospital. Well, that's a way to start a dialogue. I hope you're doing well though. Irish fans are crazy. Yeah, I mean, I guess they are. Depends which sport. Yeah, MMA, McGregor. That's true. Yeah. Where you from? From Georgia, same country as Abdullah and Korea brothers, by the way. So I'm definitely quite engaged in UFC, especially since these guys are there, quite in top levels. I'm preparing for boxing in Olympic 2028. No, not Olympic. We, it's called amateur boxing. It's always been called amateur boxing. Funny enough, it's called amateur, but it's actually Olympic boxing. And I did amateur, but there's so many things there. It's how to say that. Now we have two organizations. An Olympic Commission is separate from the World Boxing and IBA, and you gotta have to make international team. But it's not a fact that like even if I would represent Georgia, it's not a fact that they would even put me there, even if I was good, even if I get the license and stuff. So I'm kind of done with amateur, having that little bit of experience, because if that was working coordinated, maybe I would be still doing boxing in the amateur all these years. You know what I mean? But there are a lot of inaccuracies. There are a lot of it depends on the country. There's some countries who are more precise, more they just try to keep the best on the top, and they just have that their accurate hierarchy. And well, countries like Georgia, because boxing is relatively when it's a relatively new, I think boxing around like 30, 40 years of the good Georgian boxers in the amateur, especially. So, and especially with girls, I don't think we ever had that. We have European champions and women. There is actually young girl teams now back in Georgia. But yeah, I want to be on my own. I want to do professional boxing. It's more brand related. It's commercial. I like the pacing of professional boxing more because you have X amount of rounds, longer rounds. It's more of the chess game. It's more of the strategy rather than just outpacing your opponent and just throwing a lot of hands and having like a shorter time for it. You also can prepare and study your opponent before, like you have a few months. Sometimes, yeah, you might have short notice, especially in the beginning, but you can watch their videos. You can kind of study. Usually, there are materials out there, and so I'm leaning more towards professional more. You know, it's Papa Azam. No, I don't know, or if you no, I don't know who's that. I was curious. So you're in the hospital. What happened? It's an interesting way to engage people. You just say, "Hi, I'm in the hospital." Now we want to know why. At which age a child should prepare for MMA? I think because MMA is built up from different sports, different aspects, like pieces of the puzzle. Things like wrestling, for example, it has to be from very early age. But even wrestlers from the countries like Dagestan and Georgia, before wrestling, around let's say 6, 7 years, they put kids in the gymnastics for that agility, you know, that earlier conditioning. So I would say gymnastics first, since they are like just playfully 3, 4 years. They don't have to pursue it professionally. That just for developing the early stages for the foundation for athleticism. Then after that, wrestling, because wrestling is harder to learn later on. So, and wrestling, it's not directly like when kids wrestle, it's almost not dangerous at all, especially after supervision. They don't really get hit in the hands. It's not very aggressive, but it definitely develops their athleticism. Then it can be obvious. It's wrestling, BJJ, both can be kind of introduced together. Striking can be introduced also earlier, but more of the throwing hands a little bit. Like when from 6, 7, I know some kids that parents be just training them on paths, just teaching how to throw punches, things like that can be done earlier. When it comes to the actual like sparring, I'm not the fan of head sparring, but I'm talking about like a technical sparrings, actual work, actual training process. 10, 11, 10, 11, and even in competitive boxing, for example, and I think striking in general, like kickboxing, this is the earliest age they can maybe compete, right? And above, that's already, those are periods. So yeah, I think gymnastics, then wrestling, BJJ, and then striking, based on boxing, starting from boxing and then adding up kickboxing, Muay Thai, and some MMA specific things. Are you a fighter and athlete? I'm okay, I'm trying to catch that mosquito here who's biting me. Come on, go away. I have like an O negative blood, and mosquitoes just love me. They eat me alive. Yeah, I'm a boxer, and I'm also on my journey on my way to preparing for fights. I want to get back into fighting this year. Yeah, I said hi. How are you? Then I heard you say what you're in the hospital. So why are you here? That's also a good question. My question was why are you in the hospital, but your question is also makes sense. Nice tattoos. Thank you. Yeah, guys. So yeah, I'm gonna keep this live stream short. It's Sunday. Gonna keep it chill, nice and chill. minutes later, I have to host karaoke, so just gonna rest a few hours before that. But yeah, this card was basically the way I thought. Pretty much all the main card ended up the way I anticipated. And yeah, well, my Alexander Volkanovski, the great, one of my favorite fighters, by the way, his win was super satisfying too. Someone says he's in the hospital because he fights in the streets. It's not the best, not the brightest idea. There is too much price to pay for no reward, basically. But okay, guys, I'm gonna wrap it up. Thank you for very much. That was a short one. I just wanted to put a little bit of summary of my take, how it went, and how I liked it, what I anticipated, and what we got eventually. So I'm gonna go message a couple of my friends and tell them about Volk that told ya. Okay, have a good day and good night.